Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of In the Paint, your weekly show covering all things high school basketball in Lorain County. I'm Marissa McNeese with the Chronicle Telegram, joined again by my friend and co-host Rocco Nushi. We have Bruce Bishop and my partner in crime, some may say look-alike, Kristen Bauer, hanging out behind the camera. Also, we have a ton of high school basketball to cover today, Rocco. In a season where we have a pandemic that has changed schedules and formats and how teams practice and how they play, there has been no shortage of exciting storylines this season. Coming up in the show, we have a girls team breaking records with a historic performance these past two games this week. We have one of our local conferences who just announced a brand new postseason format, and a boys team averaging an incredible amount of offense. They've been really exciting to watch. Before we get into all of that, let's break down the girls' side of Lorain County high school basketball. We're going to start with the Lorain County League. Rocco, two teams at the top of that conference. We have Columbia at 8-0 and Firelands at 6-0, with Black River right behind at 5-3.
Yeah, that conference is very interesting right now on the girls' side of things. You have kind of a three-headed monster at the top with Columbia, Firelands, and Black River. You look at the point differential for those teams, and it's a lot. They're not only winning, but winning in dominant fashion. Again, Columbia and Firelands both unbeaten, as you mentioned, and just very impressive performances out of the Lorain County League so far this year. And, that's going to be a very interesting race between those three teams as we start to creep towards the end of the season here. Now, the rest of the conference, kind of a battle as we creep towards the bottom. Clearview, Keystone, Wellington, all kind of there in the middle. Oberlin and Brookside at the bottom of things. Still a very entertaining conference so far this year. I've had the opportunity to call a couple games. I had Keystone and Brookside earlier this past week. That was a lot of fun to be at. So definitely some good competition in the Lorain County League.
Yeah, it's a conference on both sides we've seen. I think we were surprised last season to see how balanced these two conferences were, but there's, at any given point, 3-4 teams on both the boys and girls side fighting for a top spot in the conference. So like you said, a really exciting league to pay attention to as we get closer and closer to the postseason. Looking at, another league that is a tough grind, game in and game out, we have the SWC. Of course, Olmsted Falls at the top of that conference, traditionally a power in that league. But you have Avon right behind in second place with Berea Mid-Park, Westlake, and Avon Lake rounding out the top five.
Yeah, the SWC fierce as ever this year, again, on the girls' side of things. Olmsted Falls at the top. I don't know if that was necessarily expected at the start of the year, but here they are dominating that conference. Avon right on the heels, Berea Mid-Park. I had a chance to call one of their games earlier this year. Coach Brittany McNamara doing a great job with that program. So the SWC, similar kind of to the Lorain County League. You got your top dogs, right? And then a little bit of a fall off the rest of the way, but still a tough conference, top to bottom.
Yeah, and elsewhere around the county, we have Lorain sitting at 1-2, Elyria 0-4, tough start to the season for the Pioneers. Vermilion, a team at 8-3, has picked up some big wins. But Rocco, we have to talk about the Elyria Catholic Lady Panthers, 9-0, have picked up right where they left off, not just last season, the season before, winning their 30th straight game this past week, setting records. It breaks the Lorain County record for consecutive wins, which was previously held by Avon Lake in the 90s. At 28 wins, a team that just continues to be dominant every season.
Yeah, Coach Eric Rothgary this year, just no different for them right now, just rolling as the EC girls tend to do. And I got some numbers from Coach Rothgary earlier today, just kind of looking at some of their star players so far this year. You look at Emily Rapax, averaging 14 points a game right now, along with 8 rebounds. And how about Anika Bradel, averaging a double-double so far this season, 17 points, 10 rebounds. Just dominating performances night in and night out, and it really inspires the rest of the team. Coach Rothgary has to be thrilled with the way his team is performing so far this year, Marissa.
Yeah, and of course, we saw the Panthers season cut short due to the pandemic last year when all of the postseasons were halted. It was really unfortunate they were making such a strong run, a contender right there for a state title. Do we think they're going to be right there in the hunt? Of course, hoping there are no more delays no more pauses to the season. Do we expect to see Elyria Catholic in the hunt for a state title again this season?
Absolutely. I absolutely do. I mean, they got a very balanced team, piecing together those wins. Maybe not quite the same talent as last year. Talking with Rob Polinsky a little bit about that. He's attested to that. Coach Rothgary would certainly disagree if you ask him, right? But I think, yeah, they are certainly a team that you'll find in the state tournament competing for that title.
All right, Rocco, let's move over to the boys' side of things here. A ton of exciting storylines happening in Lorain County. We're going to start with the Southwestern Conference with none other than the Amherst Comets leading the way in that conference, a team you don't usually hear when we say who the top team is in that conference. It's not a team usually even really in the conversation, let alone at the top. We have seen them on the rise since last season, and now, of course, just barreling into this season, having not missed a beat. Beating Avon, giving Avon their first loss of the season this week, and really emerging as the team to beat in the SWC.
Yeah, Amherst is on fire right now, plain and simple. Just picked up a new football coach and dominate right now on the basketball court as well. Ty Witherspoon carrying that success, over from football season into basketball season. We've mentioned him earlier on the program, but he's certainly not alone on that Comets team. It's a team-wide effort, night in and night out from them, no doubt about it. I'm very excited to hopefully get a chance to see them later on this season. And you mentioned Avon, a great start to the season for them. They've slipped up a little bit here in this past week, so some adversity for these young Eagles early on in this year.
Yeah, you have also, Olmsted Falls, Berea Mid Park right there as well in the top 5 of that conference. But it's been exciting to see, a new face at the top of this conference and a team. I know we've talked to Coach Pat Bray. He's been really excited by what his team's been able to do this season, and at 8-2, it's pretty impressive for a league where it's really a grind. These teams beat up on each other night in and night out. So to sit at 8-2 as it stands right now has been impressive for the Comets.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it at all. And we can just move right into the Lorain County League off of that. Looking at the top of the standings here, they're the Keystone Wildcats, 4-0 on the year at home, 4-1 on the road, leading to an 8-1 record overall. Similar story again to the girls' side of the story here with the Lorain County League. Keystone Columbia Firelands, a bit of a three-headed monster again right there at the top, a bit of a fall off after that. I will give a shout out to Oberlin though. They took an L against Firelands earlier in the week, rebounded later on in the week, as we know this year's kind of been weird with the scheduling, right? With back-to-back games against the same team. It's tough to beat somebody twice in a row, no matter who it is. And Firelands found that out the hard way, beating Oberlin and then losing to Oberlin the following night. So that was a big win for Coach Kurt Russell and the Phoenix, and the Lorain County League's just been a lot of fun this year.
Yeah, and you mentioned Oberlin. They were able to do it again at the start of the season, falling to Columbia right away, turning around to give Columbia its only loss of the season and holding them to their lowest scoring output of the season, which, we have to get right into this. Columbia has been a team I cannot get enough of. This offense is incredible, averaging 98 points per game. We talked about them a couple weeks ago when they were averaging around 98, 97 points per game, and they continue to maintain that average. They dropped 106 points on Brookside just last night, and it is their third 100-game performance of the season. They have been held to under 90 just once, and that was against Oberlin. So, you look at a team like Oberlin at 4-3, not quite at the top of the conference, but a team that can make noise as you continue on. And these games are going to only help the Phoenix improve as you head into the postseason. And just, these teams right at the top, Keystone, Columbia, Firelands, just really exciting to watch in the Lorain County League.
Yeah, and what's cool about not only the LCL, but the SWC as well, these conferences are so fierce and so tough, and we've mentioned a couple times here, right? You have your top competitors in the conference, teams that have sort of separated themselves, but it's a battle night in and night out. We've seen that in football season, we see it in baseball and softball, with basketball here as well. It is tough, and that only helps better these teams conference-wide moving into postseason tournament play. So when you're playing teams outside of your conference, you're battle-tested. You're ready to go for those high-intensity games.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, I can only speak for myself, but as this league formed last year, I wasn't sure what to expect. I certainly, though, didn't expect it to be one of the more exciting conferences to watch in Northeast Ohio. But, there has just been so many stories, the offensive output from Columbia, the battles for first place at any given night, 3-4 teams battling for the top spot. So it's just been a really exciting conference to watch in Lorain County. Now we have a few other teams. We have Elyria sitting at 1-2, Elyria Catholic 3-5 on the season. Vermilion 5-7, but 1-6 in conference play. It's been a struggle for the young Sailors. But we need to talk about now the Lorain Titans, who just picked up their season a little less than 2 weeks ago. And of course, in Lorain County, you can't talk about boys high school basketball without mentioning the Titans. They're one of the top teams, not only in the county, in Northeast Ohio, but constantly in that conversation for one of the top teams in the state. They're now 4-1 on the season with some really good wins against Garfield Heights, Cleveland Heights. Their first loss, though, last night against a 7-0 St. Edward team, and the Titans were right there in it at the end. They're down by 2 with the ball, little less than 20 seconds to go, but a big steal, just a couple miscues, hands them the loss to St. Edward. But this is a team I think we're going to have to keep our eye on as we head into the season.
What was it like getting to watch Seth Wilson? I know you were able to watch the game via online broadcast, if I'm not mistaken, the other night. So what was it like being able to watch him? I know he's a West Virginia commit. I know he is certainly a very good perimeter shooter, can get it done on the inside as well. What was your evaluation of him?
Yeah, you mentioned watching these games on these broadcasts. It's been really nice. The challenge of this pandemic is we can't get fans and as many members of the media in these gyms, but a lot of these schools have figured out ways to broadcast it to those of us who can't be in the gym. And so that's been really nice, a really nice feature. But you mentioned Seth. What a player. He joined the team last season coming from Akron St. Vincent St. Mary. He's big, he's strong, a really physical player, everything you would expect in a West Virginia commit. He really leads this team, good at handling the ball. He was, keeping his team in it right there till the end. But a player I think we don't talk about enough for Lorain. Seth gets all the headlines, and rightfully so. He's a talented player. But Jameer Billings, a Clearview transfer from a few seasons ago, has emerged as one of the top defenders in the county. He's a really talented player, really long and lanky, gets his hands in on every play. He's a good scorer, too. He's a player that complements Seth really well, really helps run that offense, and is one of the top defenders in the county.
Yeah, no question. And that's going to be a fun Lorain team to watch. I mean, they made it pretty far in the postseason dance last year before everything was cut short, unfortunately. So I think it'll be exciting to keep following that Titan journey this year.
Absolutely. Now, we teased a little bit at the top of the show. One of our local conferences announced a brand new format to their postseason. Rocco, tell us a little bit about that news.
I'm very excited for this one, Marissa. So me being the big college basketball fan that I am, was very excited to see when the GLC, the Great Lakes Conference, announced that they would be doing a postseason tournament, basically college basketball style, to determine the conference winner. So, you look at the Big Ten with Ohio State every year, you see where they're at in the Big Ten tournament. They got to make it all the way through. If you win it, you get the automatic bid and you go dancing. Obviously, that's different with high school, but it'll be the same as far as crowning that conference winner. It'll just be that 10-team bracket, and they'll play it out, and whoever wins that championship in the postseason tournament, they are deemed the conference winner for the entire season. So I just think that's a pretty cool way to do things. It's, again, very college basketball style-ish in a sense. Obviously, the postseasons differ between high school and college basketball, but still a very, very cool, interesting, and new product that, one of those silver linings of COVID-19, if you will, right? There's a lot of things taken away, but this is kind of one of those interesting new additions.
And I'm right there with you. I am such a huge college basketball fan. I love the college basketball tournament. It's got to be one of my favorite sports events, if not my favorite of the entire year. And I love this format. I think it's going to be really exciting for these teams and something different. Like you said, a silver lining in this weird, pandemic season, something to look forward to before they go into the postseason. Now, that brings us to our first federal savings of Lorain teams of the week for this week. I'll kick things off, Rocco. I'm going to start with the boys. We mentioned them a little bit earlier in the show, a team in first place of their conference, but this week we're going to give our boys team of the week to the Amherst Comets. They pick up a big win over Avon, hand the Eagles their first loss. They're in first place in the SWC, something I haven't ever said before. I've been around the area a little bit now. It's something that's, it's a program on the rise. They've been playing some really, really good basketball. And so for that, this week, our first federal savings of Lorain boys team of the week is the Amherst Comets.
On the girls' side of things, we talked about them plenty earlier on in the program, and we'll mention them again here. It's the Elyria Catholic Panthers. I mean, they are just tearing it up again this year, riding that 30-game win streak. Last loss was in December of 2019, like you mentioned, Marissa, breaking that 90s Avon Lake team's winning records, or winning streak, I should say. So it's fun, it's impressive for Coach Eric Rothgary, and they're looking to keep things rolling as the season moves along and into postseason play.
Absolutely. Well, that's going to do it for us this week on In the Paint. Another really exciting week of high school basketball. I love this time of year, Rocco. So much to talk about, so much to cover in Lorain County high school basketball. We'll be back again next week, bringing you all the highlights from the week in Lorain County basketball. But until then, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.